Thank you very much indeed, and thank you for the introduction. Even though I did write it myself, I do appreciate it very much. Thank you. Hi everybody, my name is indeed Lee Jackson. I am based here in the UK. I'm very happy to do this webinar with you. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be candid, and I'm going to be fairly plain speaking in the way that I talk about success at work and life, hopefully to get you thinking and to get you sort of get the brain moving a little bit, to think maybe a little bit differently about what success actually means and how we can get the most out of the life and work that we do. Because who wants to live a life that's no good? Who wants to live a life that's that isn't fun, that isn't achieving something? So I've done a lot of research on this, and I've spent a long time delivering this kind of material, and very much looking forward to sharing some of that stuff with you. But first of all, here's a little bit of fun to start with. I think that's always a good thing. On the screen here, which hopefully you can see now, is 4 facts and 1 lie about me. So 4 of these things are true, and 1 is a complete lie. So, did I win 3rd prize in the ballet competition? Was I one of the UK's best hip-hop DJs? Have I been a chef in a hotel? Have I won a major music award in America? Have I written 11 books? So if you're there and you're listening, just have a little think, just for a few seconds. Which one do you think is not true? Have a little think. Okay. Well, the answer is that I've never been a chef in a hotel. So you got to know me just in a very quick, because I think it's important that you get to know me a little bit as I'm speaking to you. Yes, amazingly, I did win 3rd prize in a ballet competition. What I didn't tell you was I was age 5 and there was only 3 people in the competition. That is a true story. I don't do ballet anymore. I did used to be a hip-hop DJ. I used to do lots of DJing when I was younger, and was in bands and travelled all over the place doing that, which was fantastic. I was never a chef in a hotel, I'm afraid, but I did win a music award in America and have written 11 books. There's the award, and there's several of my books that you can read about. Some are in education, and one of them, the latest one, is PowerPoint Surgery, where I help people to get away from bad PowerPoint and actually help them to enjoy business presentations one more time. So let's look at success. What does success actually mean? What's a good definition? There is obviously thousands of definitions, and of course one of the problems is that when you look, say you go onto Amazon and you want a book on success, you will type in success and you get, on my last count, was over 300,000. That's 300,000 different definitions of what success actually is, which I think is a little bit crazy, and almost to the point where you cannot even look and read at those things, and you're thinking, what is the definition? So this for me has been the definition that I've loved. This is Coach John Wooden. He was a leadership guy, a great speaker, and was also the most successful college basketball coach in American history. He said that success is peace of mind, which is a rare thing in these days, in knowing that you've done your best to become the best that you are capable of becoming. So I want to talk about success as just beyond financial success. If you have an amazing house, an amazing car, of course they can be trappings of success, but also I meet lots of people who have lots of money who aren't necessarily successful because they don't enjoy their work and they don't enjoy their life. So just having money is not necessarily the full picture. So I want to talk to you and honestly a little bit differently around the issue of success. This is myself and a guy called Richard St. John. Richard St. John is a TED speaker, and I met him at TEDx in Sheffield. One of you will probably know TED.com as one of the places to get the best talks in the world. And I met Richard St. John, and he spent 7 years researching this, and he spoke to 700 people over a period of 7 years, people who were the top of what they did. He interviewed astronauts, he interviewed top scientists, he interviewed TV stars, film stars, violin virtuoso players, people who were the top of any different field, and also community leaders and faith leaders too. Anyone who got to the top of the tree, he said, how did they actually get there, and what skills did they have? And he allows me to share this stuff with you. It's a great book, and the book's called 8 to be Great, which is a nice background read as well. But yes, it's really interesting, the stuff that he comes up with, and it's maybe a little bit different to what you expect. The first thing he talks about is passion. He talks about passion, and he says often the people that he interviewed in this process would actually say something amazing to him, and they would say that I do my job for love, not just for money. I do my job for love, not for money. In other words, he was saying that actually, so people who become financially successful actually enjoy what they do to some level. There was a famous DJ in the country here in the UK called Chris Moyles, and many years ago he was the most successful DJ in the country, and was doing the Radio 1 breakfast show right across the UK. And he has a little quote, because he comes from my hometown of Leeds, and he says that do what you love and the money will follow you. Do what you love and the money will follow you. In other words, if we can harness our passion, and hopefully you're not involved in an industry where you hate every minute of it, but if we can harness the aspects of our life and our work that we're passionate about, then what it does is it fuels. In other words, I call it fuel for the fire. It fuels us to keep going through the tough times. It fuels us to keep going through the boring times when we have to do tax returns and other finances and strategic stuff that we don't really enjoy doing. So I thought that's really helpful. So there you go. So it's passion in the best possible way. Passion for our life, passion for our work. The next one is rather unfashionable. In this day and age, and where we have food which takes 1 minute to cook, where we expect a coffee within 1 minute when we order it, where everything seems quite fast. People drive faster. We used to, many years ago, if you're old enough to remember, we used to have dial-up internet, where you would dial into the internet and have very slow. Now, if we don't have instant broadband that with really fast speeds, we feel hard done by. Everything is speeded up. When I was on holiday last week in Switzerland, we had some Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi was patchy, and it was difficult to be without Wi-Fi for a while, and I just got used to doing that, and it was really good to actually not to be working so fast. You see, shortcuts are rare. If someone says to you that they've found this special shortcut that will make you £1 million, if it sounds, as they often say, if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. Because hard work gets us from where we are to where we want to be. Hard work gets us from where we are now to where we want to be. It's not very exciting. There'll not be a red carpet or a trumpet, or we'll not get this amazing kind of welcome to the office most of the time we go in. It's just about us really putting in the hours, but also working smart, of course. It's not just about working hard and working badly, but it's also about working smart, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit later. Here in the UK, we have post offices where we post things, and I post out my books and to people, and I go there often to put money in, take money out, and do all that kind of stuff. And I was there once, and there was a woman in front of me who was very, very chatty, and she wanted to talk to me. So we were having a nice conversation about the weather. We're having a nice conversation about how she's getting on today, and it was nice just to connect with this person. Then she got to the front of the queue in the post office, and she asked for 30 lottery cards, 30 scratch cards, to try and win the lottery. And everyone looked at her strangely. 30? And the guy behind the counter, he tore off 30 of these scratch cards. And then she sort of changed from this nice lady into this very focused, very kind of angry lady. She took a coin out of her pocket. She ran into the corner, and she started scratching on the scratch card. She was hoping that something would happen to change her life. She wanted to win some money, and she was hoping that this scratch card would be it. And as she scratched the card, I realized, I saw her eyes open, and she won. She won the lottery. She won £10 sterling. Now, I'm not particularly good at maths, I'll be honest with you, that's not my strong point. But I know that she's already spent £30 and then she wins £10. And of course, the sad thing is she probably goes back the next day and tries to do it all again. People are always looking for these shortcuts. They always hope that they can be on TV. They're always hoping they can be discovered, that they'll find this little, they'll get this one client and that'll solve their business problems that they're in. But in reality, the most reliable thing we can do is to work hard and to work smart. So I started looking into this. So who do you think is the greatest Olympian of all time? Who's got 18 gold medals? The Olympics starts again in Rio in just a couple of weeks. Who's got 18 of those gold medals? And who has broken 39 world records? Any guesses? It's Michael Phelps. Now, Michael Phelps is one of the world's best swimmers. When he was at the height of his career, I sort of decided to find out, how do you become the best athlete in the world? How does this actually happen? So I looked into it, and I found out that he was training for 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. So 6 hours a day, 6 days a week, he's either in the gym or in the pool. As you can tell by the photograph there, he actually wears a weight vest, because swimmers burn off so many calories that they burn off all their body fat. Much like top athletes like Andy Murray, who's a UK tennis player, very similar. And so what they have to do is add extra weight when they're actually training and doing stuff. Now, when I go to the gym, I don't have to add extra weight because I bring my own little weight vest with me, and I don't have to add any more weight. But the reality is he's burnt this off. That's what he does. So he's swimming a minimum of 50 miles a week, and he's so bored when he's swimming that he has a waterproof iPhone and a waterproof headphones and all that kind of stuff, because he can just listen to audio and listen to audio books and listen to podcasts and music as he's swimming up and down. So the reality is that it takes a lot of effort to become really good, and it's hard to work hard. And this is starting to affect the workplace. There's now a generation that's entering the workplace. Many of you will work with them, or you employ these people. And what happens is this generation, often called Generation Y, is coming into the workplace. And they're used to playing on games more than maybe we did. I played a few in my go, but video games. And what they get used to is this idea that you get rewarded every couple of minutes. So they'll play a game, they'll like Minecraft or Candy Crush or other games, and they play a game, and then every few minutes they get a cup, they get a star, they get an upgrade, and so that's kind of how they start to live their life a little bit, because they're expecting, when they enter the workplace, they're often expecting to be the CEO of the business within 3 years. That's what I can do. They have come in with high expectations, but what they don't realize is that working hard is a long game. It's a long game. In other words, it's something that we have to do that may take years to get to where we want to be. So you don't get little cups, little upgrades, and little stars. You just don't get that stuff. It really is about playing the longer game. And there's nothing wrong with hard work. It will get us to where we want to be. But we have to understand that that's what you have to do. When I've written my books, it's just been hard. 11 books, it's hard work. One of them, we did our first draft, was 80,000 words. Writing a book is really, really difficult. It just takes hard work. But of course, there's a little more to it than that. And in the film Harry Potter, which you may have heard of, in the film The Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter says this. It is working hard is important, but there's something that matters even more, and that's believing in yourself. If we don't believe that we can do our job, if we don't believe that we can achieve what we want to achieve, of course, it means that we won't work hard, and it means that we won't enjoy our lives as much as we could do. So actually we do need to believe in that what we're doing is right. We have to take advice, and sometimes that will mean people saying no, but the reality is we need to take good advice, but also we need to believe that we can achieve what we can do. Because that self-belief gets you up in the morning, gets you into the office, gets you to the meetings, and makes you as professional as we can be. Okay, so let's change the subject. Does anyone know what this means? 86,400. 86,400. It looks like the attendance at a very large football game, maybe here at Manchester United or something, or maybe at the World Cup or the Euros, but no, it's not. 86,400 is the number of seconds that you have in every day. It's a number of seconds that I have in every day. In fact, it's the number of seconds that anybody on earth has in a day. Whether you're a president of a country, the CEO, or whether you're just the person who just works in the office and does the cleaning, we all have the same amount of time to achieve what we want to achieve. So one of the keys is that we need to focus on the right thing at the right time. So if we want to achieve anything, we have to focus on the right thing at the right time, which helps us when we're thinking about working hard. In other words, we have to cut out our distractions. We have to cut out our distractions. It's so easy to get distracted. At the moment in my house, we're having building work done, and there's drilling and walls being knocked down and bricks being put up, and it's really difficult. So to come here, so I've had to come elsewhere today, somewhere that's closed off, where I can focus on this webinar for you wonderful people. I can't be with all the other distractions that are happening in my life right now, because I'm focusing on the right thing at the right time. And what our brain needs to understand, to get the most out of our brain, is it needs a record button to work. So if you have a phone and it has a video on your phone, you probably have a small red button where you press the button to record video. And that's what our brain needs. And you can see this in 2015. Only last year this study came out. In other words, our brain needs to be told when to focus. So if you understand the physiology of the brain, then it needs to be told that now we're doing this particular piece of work. So if you're doing a piece of work, you're writing a report, a new presentation, or a pitch or something, and if you're getting interrupted every 30 seconds, your phone is going off, or your iPad is bleeping in the corner, or something else is happening, it basically means that we're not concentrating on what we need to concentrate on. So we need to cut out the distractions, and we need to, dare I say it, switch off our phone when we need to. We cannot be always available 24 hours a day unless you are working in emergency care in a hospital. You cannot be available all the time. We have to switch off our phone to rest, but we also have to switch off our phone and our other distractions to get our work done. The next little tip for you is to push through. About 4 years ago, it was the Paralympics here in the UK. In London 2012, there was the Olympics, followed by the Paralympics, which is the Olympics for people with disabilities. And if you ever go on the Underground in London, you'll find that people don't talk to each other very much. So when I travel in around London, I live a few hours from London, but when I do go in and you travel the Underground, people are very quiet. They're reading a book, they're looking at their phones, they're reading a newspaper. Nobody speaks to each other. It's kind of quite an unfriendly place, to be honest. But during the Paralympics in 2012, people started talking to each other. And my friends who live in London told me that people were talking to each other for the first time. It was a strange thing. They never thought about this. They'd never seen this before. And people were just chatting away. Because what happens is they'd learned not only the stories, not only seen the sports in the Paralympics, but they've actually seen the stories too. And it was the things that people had through that made it interesting. Because all of us have to push through certain things to get to where we want to be in business and in life. I don't know you well enough to know what your challenges are. But we all have different challenges, and life is about learning to push through those challenges. The next tip for you is about capturing ideas. It's very simple. If you want to be successful, we need to carry a notebook, or we need to be able to record our ideas on our phone or whatever. Because when something strikes in your brain and all of a sudden you're thinking about stuff, we have to get to that quickly, because you have to write it down. Because if you don't write something down straight away, what happens? You forget. Have you ever done that? Because I certainly have. I'm sure that you have too. So it's really important to think about how do you actually record the ideas. Because what it is, our brain is really good at storing medium to long-term information. It's really good at storing medium to long-term information. You know, we can remember memories from a child, we can remember what we did a few weeks ago, we can remember a holiday from last year. But what it's really bad at is remembering lots of things in the short term. So, I leave my house in the morning, I've had a busy time, I've chatted to my wife, I've chatted to my kids, I've gathered all my stuff up to go out and do a speech, I'm getting ready to present, and I've got my props with me, I've got my laptop with me, I've got my notes, and I've got everything with me. And I get out the house, I lock the front door, and I sit in the car, and I think to myself, did I just lock the front door? Have I locked the front door? Because that is what your brain does. It doesn't allow us to remember those things. So then we go, oh, did I just do that? I can't even remember, because we can only hold 4 to 6 pieces of information, and that's what our short-term memory does. It's called cognitive load theory. We can't actually store that much information. So it's important that we write stuff down, because you never know. An idea that you have, that you've written down one afternoon when you were just walking from work to an appointment, might be something that makes you money. It might be something that changes the world. My next tip for you usually comes with a video. I can't show videos on a webinar, and I don't have the, I wouldn't have the ability to do that. So really, I want to just explain to you what get good actually means. We need to understand that practice doesn't make perfect. Practice does not make perfect, but it is essential for success. So if, for instance, let me take presentations. I teach a lot of presentation skills. I do that all over the place with CEOs and top executives. And one of the things that I get them to do is to rehearse in front of me, rehearse in front of their colleagues, and to get good at speaking by doing it as many times as you can. Because if we fail at something, if we don't do quite so well, if we went to pitch for an idea and it didn't go quite as well, then really what we're doing is if we just never do it again, then we've failed. We can take feedback on it, we can go again, and we get good by doing it time and time again. That is one of the most important things that we can do, to do things time and time again. When people ring me up and they want to be presenters like me and they want to be speakers like me, they say, how do I start speaking like you? And I just say to them, just get out there and start doing gigs. Start speaking for networking groups, for groups of older people, for local associations, whatever you can do. Just get out there and speak, because the more times you do it, the better you'll be. It's the same with people in your workplace. It's the same with your staff. Do you allow people to fail in your workplace? Because failing is a good thing, and failing can help us get better. I don't mean fail terribly so it costs you millions of pounds or anything like that, but in a controlled way. Allow people to take risks and allow people to fail, and then allow them over time to get good at what they do by allowing them to fail, but to get back up and to do it again and again and again. I want to talk about serving. Just got a couple more things to talk to you about, and then I've got lots of little extra tips that I want to talk to you about towards the end of this webinar. We've got about 14 minutes left of this chat, which hopefully you're enjoying and taking notes for and getting lots of extra stuff from. Success is also not just about us individually. We've become a society, we've become a world where really we can, if we're not careful, we can be obsessed with ourselves. We can always just be about us, and it's my goals and my ambitions. And actually, when Richard St. John interviewed all these successful people, he found out that most of them were saying to him, it was a privilege to serve in the job that I do. It's a privilege to serve. One of our recent prime ministers, we've changed prime ministers quite recently to Theresa May. 2 prime ministers ago was a guy called Gordon Brown. Now, Gordon Brown was not very much liked in the UK. The media had to go at him. The people didn't like him. It was awful really to see, because I never like it when the media has a go at certain politicians. He seemed like a decent man to me. Not the most exciting man in the world, but he seemed like a decent man to me. And he said that at the end, when he resigned as Prime Minister, he said through all the hassle that he had, through all the abuse that he had from everyone putting him down, he said it was a privilege to serve the United Kingdom as your Prime Minister. It was a privilege to serve the United Kingdom as your Prime Minister. And that blew me away. I thought, wow, this serving thing is a new thing. This is a picture of me as a street angel. So as well as doing my business and family life and everything else, I actually do volunteer as well at a thing called Street Angels, where basically we help people in the street at night time, and we help them to get home safe. We help them to take them to the hospital if they're injured in Leeds city centre, and it happens all over the place. So I really like to do that because it gets me out of my own head, and it gets me into a different place where I can serve my community and help. And of course I make new contacts doing that. I find new ways to serve people, and I also do just have the ability to just not live in my own head for a while, and it's just a great thing. So my challenge to you is, how does your business serve? Of course, a business that doesn't serve its customers will be out of business quite quickly. So are you serving your customers? Are you serving your client base? But also, are you helping to serve your community? When was the last time you gave away a bit of your time? Because if you can give away some of your time, you'll find that you may well get it back with experience, with stories, and just in a great way to continue enjoying life through giving some of your time away. It's good. It's a good behaviour thing. It's a good thing to learn. And almost on TV, we have a thing in the UK called The Apprentice, and it's on in the US too, where people want to be in business. And what happens on the TV show, unfortunately, on this, is they start to argue with each other. They start to argue with each other. So what happens is, in order to be the apprentice and to get the big job with Donald Trump, or the big job with Sir Alan Sugar, Lord Sugar as he's known now, they fight with each other, and they stab each other in the back, and they trip each other up, and they have a go. And really, they give the idea that business is about not being very nice, but business is about stabbing people in the back and tripping people up. And actually, my experience of business on the whole is that people want to serve their customers well, because that's how you make money, and that's how you stay in business for a long time. If I didn't serve my customers well, if I didn't show up for this webinar, if I was 10 minutes late for this webinar, do you know what? That wouldn't be good. You'd think I was very unprofessional, and that wouldn't be a good thing. It's about serving other people as well as just serving ourselves. So, the last thing I want to share with you from Richard St. John and from some of that research is about persistence. I call it keeping on going. Now is a really bad time to give up. We've seen a world recession. Financial markets are up and down at the moment. We're not sure, but you know what? Unless you've got definite proof that your business needs to go, then now is always a bad time to give up. You've come a long way, like I have. Let's not give up now, but let's work on what we're doing and work on it in the right way. So I started looking and researching people who hadn't given up. Some stories behind the people who kept on going, maybe beyond other people. This is Walt Disney. He went to 302 different banks before he could get a bank loan for Disney World in Florida. 302 different banks. That means that he had 301 interviews in banks and he didn't get to where he wanted to be. But he went back out again on the 302nd time, he got the bank loan and he started the Disney empire at Disney World. The guy that we know as Colonel Sanders went to 1,009 different restaurants before he could get this thing called KFC off the ground. This is a massive, massive franchise, one of the biggest in the world now. And he had to go to 1,009 different restaurants before he could even get somebody to actually try out his chicken recipe. It's amazing, isn't it? Imagine going to all those places. How many months did that take him? But he didn't give up. He kept on going. This is a letter in 1979 from Mr. Paul Hewson. Thank you for submitting your tape of U2 to our company RSO, who were one of the biggest record companies in the UK at the time. We have listened with careful consideration, but we feel it's not suitable for us at present. Mr. Hewson, of course, is Bono from U2, one of the biggest singers in one of the biggest bands of all time. Of course, he didn't give up then. He sent out some more tapes. He sent out some more details. He met new record companies and eventually signed, I think, to Island Records many years later. He didn't give up. He kept on going. But my favourite story is this wonderful woman. This is Cha Sassoon, age 68, from Seoul in South Korea. She passed her written driving test in November 2009. The media said that she took it 950 times. She took her driving test 950 times. In fact, now she's become so famous for keeping on going that she's become a bit of a celebrity in South Korea, and she is known as Grandma Sassoon. She's a national treasure. They put her in a car advert, and Hyundai, the Korean car manufacturer, gave her a brand new people carrier as a free gift for her. Do you know what? Sometimes success is just about plodding on. It's about turning up when you don't feel like it. It's about turning up when the weather's not great, when it's too hot or too cold. It's about turning up and just keeping on going. Exactly like this woman, Cha Sassoon, did. You see, if you're here at the bottom of the graph, and your goal is at the top of the graph to make your business success, to make your family life better, whatever your goal happens to be, people will lie to you and they'll pretend that life is easy, you know, no problem at all. It's easy, it's easy. Of course, it's not true, because we have good days and we have not so good days. We have great weeks at work and not so good weeks. We have a brilliant quarter and then a not so good quarter. But eventually we usually get there if we do what we can with what we have where we are. And the difference between people who are successful and people who aren't is most likely this. And it's what they do on their not so good days. It's what you put into practice when you don't feel like it. It's what you put into practice when you can't be bothered, when you want to stay at home and watch TV or do something else. And actually, it's those days that make all the difference. Those days that make the athlete a gold medalist rather than fourth place. It's getting out and doing on those days that makes business work when you don't feel like it. That's what success can look like. That's how success can be achieved if we keep on going. So, let me give you a couple more little tips before we have about 5 minutes left, I think, and then I will give a few little tips for leaders along the way. Number one, what is the most powerful forces on the planet? A hurricane, lightning, a typhoon, a monsoon, what would it possibly be? A tsunami even. Actually, I think one of the most powerful forces in the universe is procrastination. Procrastination, if you don't know what it is, it means putting things off that you should be doing now. It means putting things off when we should really be doing that right now. The other word for procrastination, of course, is Facebook or social media, because we can all stay very busy on social media and not actually do the work that we need to do. There's two types of procrastination. There is deliberate procrastination, which is where we are deliberately watching TV or deliberately on Facebook and we should be doing our work. And there is distraction-based procrastination, which goes back to the focus, where we're not actually focusing on the right thing at the right time. Imagine if you had 1 hour a day at work. If you had 1 hour a day where you were uninterrupted, imagine the work you could get done. The report would get written. The presentation would be ready. The financial thing would be done. You just need to focus. I was coaching somebody. I don't coach many people because I'm more of a speaker than a coach. But I was coaching somebody a few months ago. And after about 6 sessions, talking to them about work and how they can do better in work, they basically said to me, do you know what, Lee? You know what I've learned in these sessions? I've learned that I need to focus more and I need to toughen up. Isn't that right, Lee? And I said, yeah. We need to focus more and we need to toughen up and not be procrastinating. The next little tip for you as we're coming into land, as we come to finish, and I take some questions from you, is about tasks and people. I think as a leader, what happens is the way the things swing, they swing from one way to the other. In your business, they swing from dealing with tasks and dealing with people. One year we can be very task focused, and then we've become very people focused as we develop the people around us, the people in our workplace. And the key is to know where you are right now. Should you be task focused? Should you be looking after your people? Or maybe even your family too. Where are you? We can't always be task focused because we'll lose people. We can't always be people focused because we'll never achieve anything. So where is the pendulum for you right now? Which direction is it in? How do you need to refocus this week? And here's a couple of challenges for you. Firefighting is exciting. We all love to put out fires, and in our businesses we've all got problems that we want to solve, and we love all that kind of stuff. And I need to go there and do that, and oh yes, that's important to do, and the internet's not working, and my email isn't working, and I'll sort that out. And really, firefighting can keep us awake. It can keep us busy as a boss or as a leader of our business. But you know what? At the end of the day, sometimes when you've been firefighting all day, when you've been solving little problems all day long, you'll actually feel like you've achieved nothing. Our job is not to have meetings. Our job is not to be busy. Our job is to do business so that we make profit, that we change the world, and then we can spend more time with our families. Firefighting is exciting at the time, but actually is a real problem. So let me talk to you about email. I reckon that if we get control of our email, we can be 10 to 30% more productive every week. Here's the thing. Can you make a deal with me today? Can you make a deal with me today? What if you wrote less email and used the phone more? I've worked with companies who they'll spend 2 hours writing an email to somebody who is 4 desks away from them. 4 desks away. And they'll say, oh no, I have to do this, I have to write the email and I have to send it for a record. And actually what they should do is just meet that person or have a phone call with the client or whatever and actually get most of it done without having to email. We spend so much time in the world writing and typing emails when really we should just be doing business on the phone or in person. If you're a leader in your business, then you need to decide to do this from the top. So you lead from the top and you say, let's all send less email. You see, if email was brought in now as an industrial process, it would probably get rejected. It would get rejected because you know what? They look at it and they'll say, actually, the time we spend doing that is actually no good. It's not a good use of our time. So I wonder if it would be banned now, whether we should pull back a bit from email and actually say, do you know what, let's use the phone more, let's do business in person, and let's not contact our staff with emails too. So, I've got lots more things I want to say, but I thought I might just leave it there, and I might just leave it there for you and open up to some questions, which hopefully should be coming shortly. We have some questions coming in, I'm sure, and I'll feed those questions and have a chat to you. I hope you found that useful. By the way, yeah, my name is Lee Jackson. You can get me on Twitter at Lee Jackson, L-E-E Jackson, and you can find my details from there. Feel free to say a nice comment about that, or you can find me on the website leejackson.biz. But now let's go over and take some questions from you very kind people who've been listening to me. Let's go.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Jackson, again for a very interesting presentation. Folks, we are now open for Q&A, question and answer. So if you have any questions, you could either put it in the question box, or you could equally raise your hand. There's a hand icon available on the console. So if you click on it, you will be able to speak directly with Mr. Jackson. So let me go straight to the question box. There are a couple of questions. The first
Great.
one, why do you think that working hard is not talked about much these days?
Why is working hard not talked about much these days? I think it's become, there's no news in it. So it's become extremely unfashionable, I think. And so therefore it's people like, we all like a story. We all like a story that really is like, oh, this person, you know, they were playing a guitar in the street one day, and the next day they've got a £10 million contract. We like those stories, and so the media shows us those kind of stories for working hard. They don't understand that actually in between them being on the street with a guitar and them getting the £10 million contract, what they don't show you is the 10 years of practice. And they don't show you that stuff. So it doesn't make good news, I think, is the honest answer. And so therefore, because it doesn't make news, we don't report it. And because we don't report it, then we might think that it's not actually important. But everyone I know who's successful in whatever field they're in, I know that they've worked hard to get to where they want to be.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another short one from Sister Sybil Sahin. The question is, one component of success is peace of mind. How can we gain this?
Yes, I think that's a great question. Wow, what a fantastic question. I think peace of mind is there's lots of different ways to do it. Obviously, your values, your beliefs, or your faith may come into play here. But I think one of the good ways of getting peace of mind is knowing how to control your brain and knowing how to get the best out of you as an individual. In other words, so peace of mind is, so if your working week, I don't know what her working week might be, but say if she works on a Monday to a Friday, and on the end of the Friday, if you know that you've done a good week's work, that you've tried your hardest, that you've achieved some of the goals that you set, you've done some of those main tasks, that in itself will bring peace of mind. There's also a nice technique of writing down at the end of the working week, so hopefully we all have a day off or something, even when we're running our own business, we need to have some time off, is write down what you didn't achieve today and what you'll do next time you're at work. So you congratulate yourself for what you have done. As we say in the UK, we give ourselves a pat on the back, so we say, well done, I've achieved these things this week. And then after that, we can actually write down what we need to do next time we're at work, next week, or in a couple of days' time. That is a nice little technique. Maybe she has another question about that, but I find that quite useful.
Okay, thank you very much. There's another one on lack of control. Most of the work we do in today's world is under a lot of pressure that is beyond our control, or under fear of losing job if not delivered on time. What would you advise to conquer such fear?
Yeah, well, fear is always a bad thing, and fear is never a positive thing, is it? But we all live with elements of that. If I hadn't turned up today at this webinar, then I'd fear that I would have a bad reputation. There's always something, isn't there, like that? I think several things come into play. I talked about focusing on our work, on cutting out our distractions. If we're able to focus on our work and therefore achieve it in a better time frame, then we'll always hit those deadlines, hopefully, unless they're crazy deadlines. It means we'll always hit the deadlines. And that means being strict with our time during the week. It means not having that extra long meeting. It means not, being distracted by other things, by social media, by music or whatever else, but actually thinking, today I know what I need to achieve today. So I'm going to switch off my phone for the next hour. I'm going to switch off my email, complete that task, switch it back on after an hour. I can check things again, but then go back to my work. And if we focus, I think that really helps us to bring a bit of control to our work. I mean, as the famous speaker Larry Wingate says, it's called work for a reason. We don't often, hopefully we can enjoy some of our work, but sometimes it's just work and we just have to get on with it and we get paid to do it. So maybe it's just understanding that work is work. Sometimes it's hard work, sometimes it can be fun, but if we concentrate and we cut out our distractions, we can actually achieve more, and therefore we can clock off, as we say in the UK. We can end our week or end our evening with knowing that we've given our best shot during the week. Maybe they've got a follow-up question for that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Another interesting one we have. Telecommute is also becoming a new work-life norm with flexible hours. Yet we find it hard to manage time and work despite being given flex hours. What would you advise to telecommuters how to ensure that showing online present 24 hours to your boss is not going to win us a healthy lifestyle?
Yes, I think often being available all the time is not a good thing. So we have to teach our bosses that that's not going to be a good thing because it's not sustainable. We need to have time that's on and time that's off, and we need to be able to work. If we have the privilege of working at home, then we need to manage that time. But I think if they're talking about how they want to look like they're working all the time, then that's a difficult cultural thing that might need to be addressed in the workplace, because no boss should expect you to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if the boss is contacting you late at night with work, and that's not what you want to do, and maybe your phone is just switched off, then that's what you need to do. You need to decide and take some control over your life. And if that boss isn't the right guy or the right woman, then you need to decide maybe this isn't the best work for me, and maybe I need to go somewhere else. Because being available all the time is like firefighting, like I mentioned. It's exciting, but actually it isn't good for our mental health, and it isn't good for, and it isn't very sustainable.
Okay, there's a supplementary question to it. How do you teach your bosses? What sort of style and sort of communication would you recommend to talk to your line managers or boss in this regard?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and I think it's non-confrontational. So you're not aggressive, but nice and quietly. Just say, get to know them a little bit of how their work life is, and just to the point where you can actually say to them, this isn't really working for me. I can't be available every evening, and if I've worked during the day, can we work out a system where you contact me up until 7 p.m. or something, and just do it that way? But I think the best way is to always be polite, and is to always just, and obviously, hopefully, when you talk to them, you're doing well in your job too. So if you're achieving your goals in your job, if you're a good employee, then they're much more likely to actually talk to you and to work that out. But often we'll find that our bosses and our line managers are also very stressed out because of this. So it's good to listen to them and help them and to understand them as well. It is quite complicated. Without knowing the situation, it is difficult to help them, but I understand the tension of that.
Okay, we have one last short question. What tips can you give to help us stay positive?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. It's unrealistic to say that we'll be positive all the time. It's unrealistic. Any motivational speaker who tells you you should be positive at all point, it's just they've never lived life. It's impossible. But we can find ways of staying positive. If being positive is always a better frame of mind, it's always better to have life positively rather than negatively. So to give you an example of that, I was working with a group yesterday, and I was doing presentation skills, which I do a lot of, and I was teaching this group presentation skills, and there was a person in the group who said to me in the morning, it was 4 hours long, this session, they said to me in the morning, they said, I don't want to do this. And they said, I can't speak up front. And I said, okay, let's give it a try. So I helped them, I had a quiet word with them, I coached them, I gave them advice, I said, let's be positive about this. And the person continued to say, I don't want to do this, I can't do this, I'm no good. And their whole attitude was they were just being negative the whole time, which was really, really difficult. Just, constantly negative, never going to work out. So being positive is really useful and it is really helpful. The best thing to remain positive is to have a gratitude list. It's been scientifically proven that if you are grateful for things, if you are thankful for things in your life, that will have an effect on your positive mental state, as they say, or your PMA, positive mental attitude. So if at the end, maybe every morning, we just write down a list of things, no one has to see this list, we just write a list of things that we're grateful for. What are you thankful for in your life right now? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it your workplace? It could be something as small as a nice cup of coffee. It can be the beautiful sky outside. If we learn, so maybe once a day, maybe twice a day, you write down what you're thankful for, you'll find, and this has been proven now, as a journalist did a lot of research on this, and it's also in the I think Richard Wiseman's book as well, 59 Seconds, and he says that this whole idea of being positive just really makes of being grateful and thankful really makes a difference. It's a very simple thing to do. No one has to know that you're doing it. Just on the way to work or when you get home after work, just write down, what am I thankful for today? And you'll find that your brain starts looking for the things that you're thankful for rather than the things that are going wrong. And that was a great way of staying positive for work and for life too.
Very much. We have just one last question I would like to take. We have from, again, Sister Sybil. The question is, ever more people today have the means to live, but no meaning to live for. How important is meaning in life?
Well, thank you, Sister Sybil. That's a great question. I think meaning in life is very important, and it's something that I've discovered myself. That people can look for meaning in life in money. I think that's often an empty thing. I think they'll find that meaning in life is the things, like I've said, that you will become thankful for. The things that are maybe sometimes at work, sometimes it's generally people, not tasks. We don't get meaning in life for having a nice watch, even though I like to have an Apple Watch and I enjoy my watch. That doesn't give my meaning in life. It's just something nice to have. What gives me meaning is my family and my wife and the good friends that I have and the values and the things that I live out my life. Those things give me real meaning. Understanding that I'm here on planet Earth to make a difference. I'm here on planet Earth for a reason makes a massive difference. And personally, that's something that I found out myself in lots of different ways through the work that I do, and it's just wonderful to understand the meaning. I think it's something that we should always look for, and if we're not asking big questions like that, I'd often be quite concerned. I think it's good to ask those big questions. It's good to search for the meaning, and I was always encourage people to do that. I don't want to give you specific examples of what that means for me right now because Sister Sybil might be from a very different culture and I didn't want to just put my UK culture on top of that. So it'd be interesting to know what she means about that, but it's a great question, and I found it, and I hope that others do too. And I've realised that it's not in things, but it's in experiences, and it's in people.
Okay, she also supplemented, I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment, but let me read. She said, so who
Sure.
he has a why can endure any how. Thank you. I don't know.
A why, yes. Yes, the why is anyhow, yeah. So that's a big thing for motivational speakers. You know, if you have a big enough why, if you ask the why question, why am I doing my job, then you'll get through the how and the day to day. So why am I doing this today is because I have answered the why question, and that gets me through what I do. So yes, a great thing. So Sister Sybil, thank you, and thank you for all of the questions. I've enjoyed it very much.
Thank you very much. That really brings us towards the end of the webinar. I really want to thank you, Mr. Jackson, on behalf of the Madinah Institute for Leadership and Entrepreneurship. Any concluding remarks that you would like to give before we dismiss out?
Yes, I'd just like to thank everyone listening, and thankful to yourself and your organisation to help for having me on board. Please do contact myself on the internet. You can contact @LeeJackson on Twitter, @LeeJackson, or leejackson.biz. Please get hold of me if I can help you in any way. Always happy to travel and speak and help organisations and people like yourself. So thank you so much. I wish you all success with your work and your life, and I hope we all do find meaning as we continue as looking to lead and to manage the work and the people in our lives. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much once again for a very interesting presentation and for your time to share this valuable presentation through Mal's live webinar platform. And thank you all of those who participated and for very interesting questions to make it an interactive experience for all of us. We are recording it. Please stay tuned to the webinar.